I support him. I think I always will. I don't want anything ever to happen to him bad.
What if I told you Justin Bieber may have just leaked an entire album the night before Selena Gomez dropped hers, and no one can prove it was an accident? That's not fan fiction. That's what fans believe. It's 2025, and chaos just hit the internet like a freight train. An unreleased Bieber album, a suspicious leak, a track list way too real. And the timing? Downright surgical, landing just 24 hours before Selena's most personal album ever. Was it revenge, coincidence, or something darker? Fans are spiraling, Benny Blanco's catching. Strays. And Selena? Her lyrics sound less like closure and more like unfinished business. Let's break it down, because whether this was petty PR, emotional sabotage, or the final chapter in a decade-long love triangle, this just reopened wounds that were never healed. So here's how it started. A mysterious album, rumored to be titled Paris, suddenly appeared in select Spotify regions. No promo, no announcement, just there. The voice, unmistakably, Justin. The lyrics, emotionally loaded. And the track titles? A minefield. One song allegedly called Unfinished Portrait, another titled Her Shadow Lives Here, and one that instantly had fans spiraling, She Left, I Stayed. What? Are the odds that this just happens to drop one day before Selena's confessional album releases? What are the odds that tracklist appears at the same time her fans are flooding TikTok with tributes to her healing journey? And then came the theories. It's a leak. He's warning her. It's not a leak, it's a direct shot. This is about Benny Blanco, isn't it? Fans didn't hesitate. They went full detective mode, splicing lyrics, dissecting instrumentals, cross-referencing old interviews. Within hours, Justin leaked on Selena, started trending on iBabum X. TikTok was flooded with edits, mashups, and voiceovers, linking every alleged song to a moment in Jelena history. And while Team Justin stayed silent, Selena posted a single Instagram story, a black screen, just 5 words. It always happens like this. And with that, the war began. The internet didn't blink. Within minutes of Selena's cryptic story, "Why's Justice for Selena" was trending. Again. Edits resurfaced, old interviews got clipped, even paparazzi videos from 2018 were pulled back into the spotlight. The question wasn't if Justin did this on purpose, it was, why now? And then came Benny Blanco, Selena's current partner, music producer, longtime friend turned boyfriend, suddenly in the line of fire, not for something he said, but for something he didn't. Because when the alleged Paris album leaked, Benny stayed quiet. No clapback, no denial, no message of support. And to some fans, that silence felt deafening. Is he scared? Did he know about the leak? Why hasn't he defended Selena yet? The theory spiraled even further when people noticed that one of the leaked Bieber tracks reportedly samples a vocal loop that Benny Blanco himself used in a past song. Fans claimed it couldn't be coincidence. This wasn't just a leak, it was an emotional ambush, a sonic message disguised as music. By the end of the night, TikTok was chaos. Clips of Justin crying on stage from years ago were stitched with Selena's voiceovers. Fan accounts were posting side-by-side timelines. Even Hailey's name started trending, and she hadn't said a single word. Because in this triangle, everyone bleeds, even in silence. She didn't post, she didn't comment, she didn't even blink online, but somehow, Hailey Bieber was right back in the crossfire. Because when you're married to Justin Bieber, and a mystery album leaks that, sounds like a love letter to his ex. The internet doesn't wait for your statement, it writes one for you. Fan edits labeled her the placeholder. Old TikToks resurfaced with captions like, "She was never the muse." And within 24 hours, Hailey was trending, not for anything she did, but for who she's always been seen as. Not Selena. The whispers started again. He still loves her. This is why he looks sad. Hailey knows he never got over it. And maybe the cruelest part? It doesn't even matter if the leak was real, because this isn't about facts anymore. It's about feelings. About unresolved stories that fans refuse to let die. And if Justin's new music even sounds like a confession, then to the internet, it is one. Meanwhile, Hailey, who stood by Justin through breakdowns, hospital visits, mental health struggles, and career pauses, is reduced to a meme. Again, because in the public narrative, she's not a partner, she's an obstacle, and no matter how many years she's been married to him, there's always someone waiting to remind her, you were never the first choice. Let's stop pretending this is just about music, because Jelena was never just a relationship. It was a fantasy. The good girl and the troubled star, the teenage fairy tale, the breakup that always left the door open. It was messy, raw, toxic. And people loved every second of it. When Selena cried, fans cried with her. When Justin spiraled, fans posted throwbacks and prayed for reconciliation. And when they got back together for the final time in 2017, people thought, this is it. This is the comeback, but it wasn't. By March 2018, they were done. And 4 months later, Justin proposed to Hailey. The timeline became the crime scene. Fans treated it like betrayal, like grief, like the final scene of a movie they never wanted to end. And so, they rewrote it in their minds. He settled. She's a rebound. He regrets it. Every interview, every lyric. Every look on Justin's face. Recoded, reframed, and reinterpreted to fit the myth that Justin never moved on. That Jelena never really ended. So when this album, if it even exists, appears to open that wound again, it's not just music. It's validation for millions of fans who never got closure. And for Selena, for Hailey, for Justin, that means no matter what they do, they're still characters in someone else's story. This isn't just about 3 celebrities anymore. It's about us, the viewers, the fans, the people who've turned parasocial obsession into a full-time hobby. We've stopped watching their lives and started editing them. Every post becomes evidence. Every silence becomes suspicion. Every photo, every lyric, every glance, cut, clipped, looped, and recaptioned into narratives we invented, but now believe like gospel. And that's the real danger, because the Selena-Justin-Hailey triangle isn't a love story anymore. It's a battleground for identity, for projection, for grief we didn't process in our own lives. So we latched onto theirs. We made Jelena about us. Our first heartbreak, our fantasy endings, our belief that love, even messy love, should find its way back home. And Hailey, she disrupted that script. She became the new chapter no one asked for. So she was never given a fair shot. Not by the fans, not by the culture, not by the narrative that refuses to evolve. Now, years later, even with marriages, music, and therapy between them, one mysterious album leak can undo everything. Because when nostalgia is weaponized, healing doesn't stand a chance. The truth is, we don't want them to heal, because healing ends the story. And we're addicted to the plot. When Justin writes a song that sounds like regret, when Selena drops lyrics that echo her pain, when Hailey posts a photo that feels just a little too curated, we treat it like the next episode of a show that never officially ended, and in that never-ending series, we're not just fans. We're writers, editors, theorists. We cast ourselves as the judges of what was real, what was fake, what should have happened. So when Selena sings, "You said you were sorry," we say, finally, the sequel we were waiting for. When Justin stumbles on stage or looks distant in a paparazzi shot, we don't ask, is he okay? We ask, is he thinking about her? We don't want peace. We want poetry. We want symmetry. We want the heartbroken girl to win, the boy to suffer, and the other woman to disappear. But real life doesn't obey fanfic rules. Selena is not writing an album to subtweet your fantasies. Justin is not leaking music to steal your closure. And Hailey isn't the villain in your screenplay. Yet here we are, forcing a triangle to keep spinning, even when all 3 corners have already moved on. Because letting go of the fantasy would mean facing our own, that we used their heartbreak to avoid dealing with ours, that their drama distracted us from the silence in our own lives, that the chaos made us feel something in a world where numbness is easier. So we stay subscribed to a relationship that no longer exists. We follow the characters even when the show is over. And every song, every comment, every silence becomes a new season we can't stop binging. But here's the real plot twist. They've already healed. They've already left. We're the ones still stuck in the reruns. There's something deeply human about needing closure. We search for it in texts never sent, in songs never meant for us, in people who've already walked away. And when celebrities become our canvas for that search, we stop seeing them as people, and start using them as mirrors, Selena became the blueprint for healing. But only as long as she stayed broken enough to feel relatable. Justin became the poster boy for regret, but only when it made him look guilty enough to feed the narrative. Hailey became the antagonist, not because of what she did, but because of what she represented. The end of a story we weren't ready to let go of. But they are no longer in that story. Selena has built an empire out of her vulnerability. Justin is navigating fatherhood with quiet effort. Hailey is trying to exist outside the lens we keep fixing on her, and still, we scroll, we post, we theorize, because the truth is, we don't want reality, we want romance. We want revenge, we want resolution, even if we have to invent it. But maybe the most radical thing we can do is to let them go, to honor their healing by starting ours, to listen to the music without rewriting the past, to stop demanding an encore from people who've already taken their final bow, because the real story isn't about who hurt whom. It's about how we turned someone else's trauma into entertainment and forgot there were real people underneath the headlines. So if you're still here, still watching, still waiting for some final twist, maybe it's time to ask why, and maybe, just maybe, it's time to change the ending. So where does that leave us? In a world where heartbreak is monetized, where silence is suspicious, and where healing is never as viral as drama. What happens when the people we projected everything onto finally stop performing? We're left staring at ourselves. Because the real story isn't about Selena and Justin. It's about why we needed them to begin with, why we held onto them like lifeboats in our own emotional oceans, why we turned their trauma into timelines, their healing into betrayal, their distance into proof of unresolved love. Maybe it's time we ask harder questions. What does it say about us? That we can't accept a happy ending unless it's our version? That we scroll past mental health confessions just to circle back to leaked songs and imagined DMs? That we turn women into rivals and men into redemption arcs just to avoid sitting with our own grief? Because what we've been watching isn't a love triangle, it's a mirror. And maybe that's why it hurts so much to let go. Not because we still believe Jelena is real, but because letting go of them means accepting that the closure we wanted isn't coming from them. It's coming from us. So when you hear that lyric, when you see that photo, when you catch yourself spiraling into the what ifs and maybe they still pause, breathe, and remember. The show might still be playing in our heads, but the stage is empty. The lights are off. The actors have gone home. And maybe it's time we do the same. We don't get viral moments for quiet acceptance. No trending hashtag for "they're actually fine now." No comment section applause when we say, "I've moved on too," because letting go isn't aesthetic. It's not a headline. It's not a remix-ready soundbite. It's quiet, unshared, unseen, and that's what makes it real. We've spent so long mining their pain for entertainment. We forgot that healing isn't supposed to be loud. It's supposed to be freeing. Selena doesn't owe us another anthem. Justin doesn't owe us another breakdown. Hailey doesn't owe us another explanation. They've given us more than enough. And the truth is, this story isn't unfinished. It's just uncomfortable. Uncomfortable because it ends with no dramatic reunion, no villain takedown, no fairy tale revenge. Just 3 people trying to move forward while the rest of us keep pressing rewind. So maybe the real courage isn't in the comeback, it's in the quiet, the unfollow, the click away, the choice to say, "This isn't my story to hold anymore." Because closure isn't something they can give us. It's something we give ourselves when we finally stop looking to strangers to solve the things we refuse to face within. There was never going to be a perfect ending. No dramatic walk back into each other's arms. No Instagram post that finally made it all make sense. No album that healed every fracture we projected onto them. Because healing doesn't come with fanfare. It doesn't trend. It doesn't ask for your approval. It just happens. Off screen. Without an audience. And that's the part we hate the most. We weren't ready for the silence. We weren't ready for them to stop bleeding in public. Because then we'd have to look inward, at our own nostalgia, at the pain we disguised as loyalty, at the way we clung to their heartbreak to avoid facing our own. The Jelena we loved wasn't just a couple. It was an escape, a fantasy, A time in our lives when we still believed love had to be messy to be meaningful, but real love, the kind that survives, it's boring, it's soft, it's private, and that's exactly why it'll never make the FYP. So as the last lyric fades, as the album cycles out of rotation, as the drama cools, no matter how badly we try to reignite it, maybe the most honest thing we can do is stop. Not because we don't care, but because we care too much to keep rewriting someone else's pain into our entertainment. Selena has let go. Justin has moved on. Hailey never asked to be your plot device. And us? We're still here, still holding a story that isn't ours, still waiting for a finale that already aired years ago. So maybe the question was never, will they ever get back together? Maybe it's, why are we still stuck in something they've already healed from? They gave us the story. We refused to let it end. We held on like it was ours, clung to the drama, fed off the pain, and convinced ourselves we were just fans. But fans don't turn strangers into symbols. Fans don't build theories on someone's heartbreak. Fans don't keep broken love alive for a decade. After, it's already been buried. Let's call it what it really is. Obsession, masked as nostalgia. Grief, repackaged as curiosity. Loneliness, disguised as loyalty. Because the truth is, we didn't want them to move on. We wanted them frozen in time. Still aching, still fighting, still unfinished, so we wouldn't have to face what we never healed. But they did. Selena chose peace. Justin chose fatherhood. Hailey chose grace in a storm she didn't create. And us, we chose the loop. We replayed every lyric, reopened every wound, retold every version, except the one where we finally let go. But maybe this is where it ends. Not with a headline, not with a tweet, not with some cryptic caption on Instagram, but here, in the quiet space between memory and maturity, where you stop needing answers and finally start choosing peace. No more decoding, no more side eyes, no more fiction. Dressed as justice, just silence, just release. Just the long overdue truth, the story's over. It always was. We were just afraid to stop reading. Maybe it was never really about Selena, or Justin, or Hailey. Maybe they were just the faces we used to make sense of our own mess. The love we lost, the apology we never got, the closure that never came. So we clung to theirs. We turned their silence into a message, their songs into secrets, their every move into a clue, because if they could still be hurting, then maybe we weren't crazy for still bleeding. But here's the truth no one wants to hear: they stopped playing the game. They've built new lives, new chapters, new peace. And we're still rewatching a show that ended years ago, waiting for an alternate ending that's never coming. It's not just toxic, it's tragic, because we used someone else's pain as permission to avoid healing our own. We made fan cams instead of boundaries, conspiracies instead of closure, fiction instead of forgiveness. But what happens when the characters grow up and we don't? What happens when they stop looking back and we still do? Maybe that's the final heartbreak. Not that they moved on from each other, but that they moved on without needing us. So now the choice is ours. Do we stay in the echo or finally step into the quiet? Because at some point, even the loudest story has to end. Even the most viral love fades. Even the fans have to let go. And when that moment comes, it won't be dramatic. It won't be messy. It won't even be noticed. It'll be still. It'll be silent. And it'll be enough. We've confused visibility with value. We thought that if enough people saw our pain, it would somehow mean something. That if our edits got reposted, our heartbreak would be validated. But closure doesn't come with views. It comes with silence. Selena never needed to name names. Justin never had to explain. Hailey never defense. Because true healing doesn't show up in the algorithm. It happens in the moments no one sees. Late night breakdowns, soft boundaries, choosing not to respond. We wanted this triangle to give us a lesson, but maybe it was only ever meant to be a mirror. Not for who they are, but for who we've become. So if you're still here, waiting for a twist, there isn't one. There's just a slow fading out. Like the credits of a film you didn't realize was ending. Like the closing scene that doesn't scream, it whispers, that chapter is over, and you're allowed to turn the page. We're the ones still stuck in the reruns. No music swells, no dramatic reveal, no gotcha moment to prove someone was right all along. Just this. Selena is in love with someone new. Justin is raising a child with his wife. Hailey is building a life that doesn't need validation from strangers. And you're still here. Not because you're obsessed, but because a part of this story spoke to something unspoken in you. The ache, the what ifs, the why didn't they choose me you've never said out loud. But maybe that's what this has always been. Not about them, about you, about the version of yourself that believed closure would come from watching someone else get theirs. About the younger you, who didn't get picked, didn't get the apology, didn't get the explanation. And maybe it's time to give them something back. Not another theory, not another fan cam, just peace. Because the real mic drop is silence, the real victory is walking away without needing the last word. So take one final breath. Let the edits fade, let the headlines scroll past, let the triangle collapse, and then ask yourself, whose story are you finally ready to stop retelling? Because healing doesn't go viral, but it does happen, quietly, privately, and completely. And maybe, right here, right now, it just did.